Hi, guys. Today I'm going to talk to you about a second way in which you can eliminate negativity from your life. Now, this one is a very interesting one because it's quite personal to you. And if you've never heard of this phrase or this thing in psychology, it's called reframing. Now, reframing means you reframe the kind of negative statements or the negative things you think or say about yourself into a more positive sentence or a more positive outlook. And one way to do this is to firstly understand what the negative sentences or the negative statements you most identify with. Now, these could just feel like sentences that come in passing, like, for example, I can't live without sugar, or saying I'm generally a lazy person, or I am disorganized most of the times, I'm a very unorganized person, or saying I'm always late to places and that's just how I am. Now, even though these sentences or these statements feel quite very much like who you actually are, but a lot of the times when you say I'm always like this or I'm always like that, and you kind of give those sentences a lot of emotions and those statements a lot of emotions, and you identify with it very strongly, what happens is when you're trying to change other things in your life, those exact statements get in your way. And then you see more evidence of that negative statement. And then you identify with that belief even more. So one thing I have started doing is rather than eliminating that negative, to reframe it as completely positive or completely stop saying that thing about yourself. One way to do this is to make the negative statements a bit more ambiguous or vague. Okay. And one way in which you can do that is instead of saying, I am not tolerant of this at all, you could say, for example, something I generally don't like is I don't have much tolerance for a lot of noise. So I don't like when things are very noisy around me, and when there's too much chaos and noise around me. So instead of saying I can't tolerate noise at all, I would say I have low tolerance for noise. Okay, so don't tell yourself I have zero tolerance for this, or I have no tolerance for this, or I always am like this, or I'm always like that. You make it slightly ambiguous or vague. Now, when I say I have low tolerance for noise, now low tolerance could be so subjective to different people. Okay, so it could be different for different people. And when I say that to myself, I have low tolerance for noise. Even my mind doesn't know how low that tolerance is or how much I can tolerate noise. And when my mind doesn't know that, it's not constantly looking for evidence to not tolerate something. But if I go into a place, or if I'm in the market or, on the streets, and if I say I have no tolerance for noise, I have zero tolerance for noise, my mind is constantly looking for evidence to back that belief up or back up that statement. That means if somebody's honking loudly, I would be like, oh my God, and I would get really riled up because I'm trying to find evidence to validate my belief. So one way of doing this is to convert your negative statements into ambiguous statements, okay? You could use words like maybe or sometimes, or you could use high or low, okay? Because those are quite subjective, ambiguous statements. So instead of saying I'm always unorganized, you could say sometimes I can be a bit unorganized about things, or sometimes I may be late, or sometimes I get a craving for sugar. Don't tell yourself constantly, I'm addicted to sugar. Don't constantly tell yourself, I can't do without smoking a cigarette. Okay, especially when you're trying to change habits, you need to think about how much you identify with that habit or with the belief that backs up that habit or that action. So one way of doing it is to either convert it into a completely positive statement, but it'll be harder to believe it when you make it completely positive. Now, if I can't tolerate loud noise, and if I tell myself, I love loud places. Or if I tell myself, yeah, I can completely deal with noise, I just don't care, I can switch myself off, I'm faking it, okay? So rather than faking it, I can say I have low tolerance for noise, or I'm not a fan of noisy places. Sometimes I could get quite upset if things around me are quite noisy. So those are the kind of statements I can use to describe who I am in that environment. And in this way, you can change a lot of negative statements about yourself and start making them more ambiguous, or start making them a bit more, realistic, because I'm pretty sure you're not always late, okay? Or you're not addicted to sugar. It's not like you can not go a day without sugar, okay? Or it's not like you're addicted to cigarettes. I know it's seen as an addiction, but you're not really addicted to it unless you believe you are addicted to it. So giving yourself a little bit of room for ambiguity in your brain will allow you to notice a little bit of the opposite of what you actually believe about yourself. So when you tell yourself, sometimes I can be a bit unorganized. So what your mind is now doing is, when you're unorganized those some little times, you're automatically trying to change that behavior and be a bit more organized, because you said it's sometimes that happens. So you're trying to make that sometime even lesser times, even fewer times that you're being disorganized, or you're not like you're unorganized about something. Okay. So you could do that. Also, if you tell yourself, I'm really lazy, and you're trying to change something about yourself and you're trying to get into a new habit, but you keep telling yourself, I'm really lazy, that's just how I am, and you're seeing it as a very casual statement, try changing that statement. When you talk to yourself and when you talk to others, especially when you talk to yourself and when you're describing yourself in a certain situation or an environment, try this method and let me know how it goes, because it really works well for me. It has been working really well for me. So instead of telling myself I'm really messy, I have started telling myself sometimes I can be messy. Okay, or sometimes I don't prioritize my everyday routines very well. And the moment I've started doing that, since the time I've started doing that, I have seen a lot of change in my behavior. Every time I notice those things, I kind of feel like changing it, because I don't identify strongly with the whole idea of I'm really messy or I'm really unorganized. So you could try that as well. Let me know how it goes. If you found this video helpful, just please do like, share and comment. Let me know how it went. If you think it did not work for you, please come and talk to me about it and I can help you through it and we can see what we can do for you. Also, do listen to my podcast channel, The Infinite Mind. It's on Spotify, it's on Anchor, it's on various other platforms. I always do share every time I have a new podcast out. If you do like my IGTV videos, let me know. If you want to hear about something different, if there's any situation that's bothering you, something you're trying to change about yourself that you want to see more videos about, do let me know and I can make a video on that for you. So take care of yourself and do try the method and have a great week ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.